Hello everyone and good afternoon, and welcome to today's webinar session brought to you by Shiksha.com and the University of Newcastle, Australia. Before starting up with the presentation, I would like to introduce our panelists for today. Our first panelist is Dr. Gurpreet Singh, Director South Asia for the University of Newcastle. Dr. Gurpreet has over 15 years of management experience in successfully leading strategy for developing new businesses globally for organizations in Australia, Middle East, North America, and Europe. Based in Mumbai, he currently leads the University of Newcastle's engagement in South Asia. Our second panelist for today is Ms. Maria Hussain. She is the recruitment advisor based in Noida. Maria takes care of student recruitment from Indian regions for the University of Newcastle. Thank you both of you for joining us today. I would now request Dr. Gurpreet to please proceed with the presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that introduction. So welcome everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. As Lakshmi said, I'm the Director for South Asia for the University of Newcastle. What we'll do today is we'll just give you a presentation, an overview of the University of Newcastle, some of our key programs, and also, you know, we've got some FAQs in there around COVID as well, because I know I'm sure a lot of people have got some questions around the uncertainty, and there's obviously the uncertainty around when the borders will open, and even around the COVID situation as well. So we'll attempt to answer those questions as we go along in the presentation as well. So if anyone has any questions, you know, like what we'll recommend is please type them into the question format, and we'll try to answer them as we go along. But there will be a dedicated Q&A section at the end of this formal presentation, and we can have a more detailed conversation around that as well. So without further ado, let me just commence now. So just to give you a bit of an overview of the University of Newcastle, just by numbers. So the university is ranked in the top 200 in the world. So according to the QS University World Rankings, which were released 2021, which were released I think last month, the university's official ranking is 197th in the world. So that makes us, you know, a top 200 university globally as well. And I think that's that talks, you know, obviously the type of standards that the university teaches, and it also you know indicates the type of patronage that we also you know adhere to in terms of our associations as well. The university is actually quite a large university, so we've got about 38,000 students from over 113 different nationalities. So what that really means, of course, is that means we've got a very large and diverse student body as well, which I think also adds value especially when you know when you as a potential applicant or a potential student is looking for you know exposure from different cultures and different nationalities as well. The university also has about approximately 150,000 you know, alumni, you know, across 144 different countries as well. And then, you know, one of the things that we're also quite proud of at the university is that universities, there were two key corporate, you know, in terms of, you know, values that the university adheres to, which are quite personal to me and also to the university as well. One is around equity, and the other one is around access as well. So equity is all about making sure that people from different backgrounds, you know, irrespective of your cultural background, you know, your nationality, but also even your journey, or in terms of if you don't have the financial affordability or whatever it is, the university is always there to help you, and that's what we're all about. Is the university prides itself being able to make ourselves available and and provide entry to students who may be in the first in their family to be actually doing going to university. But also, one of the things that we're quite proud of in Australia is that we're the #1 university in Australia for the highest Indigenous enrolment. So what that really means is in Australia we actually have the traditional owners of the land, which are the Aboriginal and Torres Strait people. So the university actually has the highest number of Aboriginal and Torres Strait people from that ancestry. actually enrolled at the university. So that actually speaks quite highly of the access and the equity that we sort of adhere to as well. Next slide, please. Next slide, Lakshmi. Thank you. So continuing on, in addition to the rankings, what this is also talking about is I just want to also talk about a couple of things around is also around research as well. And 95% of our research is what we call at or above world standards. So each 5 years or 4 years, the Australian government does excellence research exercise in where they actually moderate and review all research output from universities across Australia and then give them a ranking. And as you can see, the University of Newcastle, as 95% of it is actually considered at or above world standards. So that talks significantly about the research output as well. But also more importantly as well is we're #1 in Australia for industry collaborations. And why that is important? Because that one I'll tell you, and you'll understand it a bit more, is we as a university, our ethos is that, and this is something that's personally directed by our Vice Chancellor, our academics should be only one step away, or our students should be only one step away from industry. So what that means is that our students are getting taught by academics who are both also undertaking significant world-class research, but also they are got very, very significant linkages into industry. So what that really means is that you as a student are able to benefit from that collaborations. So, and that actually comes into the classroom, but also, and you also see is that industry collaborations also assist in terms of how we are then able to assist our students to be able to find some very, very strong employment as well. So, and I'll talk about that a bit later as well. In terms of research output as well, we're top 9 in Australia for research income as well. So what that really means is that we as a university work with industry, and industry funds us and pays us money to undertake research. And we had in 2019, we had over $100 million, which we received from industry to undertake commercial research as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so why study with us? So one, as I mentioned, study at a global, top 200 ranked university. But also, one of the things that's also quite good about us as well is that Newcastle as a whole is considered in what I put in inverted commas as a regional city in terms of the government's classification. But that doesn't really represent. To be honest, regional doesn't really represent us. But it's just we get classified as a regional city as well. So what that really means is that when you graduate from our Newcastle campus or you graduate from our Callaghan campus, you actually get additional post-study work rights. So if you study and graduate from our campus in Sydney, or you graduate from an institution based in Melbourne or Brisbane, you only get 2 years post-study work rights. But whereas with us, if you graduate from a Newcastle campus, you get 3 years, and if you graduate from our Central Coast campus, it is going to be 4 years as well. So that really means that you actually have additional time to actually recoup your investment as well. In terms of, number 3 is building professional networks and connect with industry partners. As I mentioned, is that the university is just one step away from industry. We are ranked number 1 in Australia for industry collaboration. So what that really means is that, as I mentioned, is that our academics and industry professionals are coming into the classroom, or our students are actually doing internships with real life cases, in class as well, and also doing internships in the industry as well. And that also then leads on to more career opportunities, as in point 4. So if you look at our career stats, 90% of our graduates, both undergrad and minimum, so 90% undergrad and about, I think 95% is postgraduates, in full-time employment within 4 months of graduating. And the average salary is significantly higher than any other university in Australia, and we'll talk about that a bit further as we go along as well. Also, you study, studying at Newcastle, you're studying free from distractions, in a welcoming setting as well. Newcastle is the second largest city in New South Wales behind Sydney. It has a population of 500,000 people, so it is still quite a sizable city in Australia. And what that really means, of course, is there are less distractions, and so you have more time to be able to focus on your studies as well. And the best thing about Newcastle, it's a multicultural city as well. It's also about engaging in practical learning experiences. The university as a whole engages and undertakes 23,000 different work integrated learning experiences each year. And what is work integrated learning? Work integrated learning is looking at embedding some form of practicality in your program or in your academic teaching each year. So across all of our programs that we teach at the university, we have a minimum 23,000 industry or practical components attached to our programs and the subjects that you do as well. So that is quite significant. But also, you enjoy a more affordable study so enjoy a more affordable study experience in Australia as well, and especially in Newcastle, where compared to Sydney or Melbourne, especially compared to Sydney, the cost of living, in particular housing, is 60% cheaper and about 25% cheaper than Melbourne as well. So when you combine our fees, when you combine our the cost of living, but also the additional return on the additional post-study work rights, the value proposition for Newcastle is quite significant. Then you add on top of it our rankings, plus then you add on our career stats as well, and that, as you can see, then makes a very, very attractive value proposition for any student as well. So next slide, please. Okay, just to give you a bit of an overview around the location for Newcastle. So as I mentioned before, we are approximately 2 hours drive north. We're 2 hours drive north of Sydney, and so there's usually just one highway or one freeway you can take, or you can actually take a train, which I think only takes about an hour and a half as well. So it's very, very easy. Newcastle does also have an international airport, and so that airport also takes flights from domestically and also from internationally as well. As you can see from this, so from a connectivity point of view, it's very easy to get to Newcastle as well. Next slide, please. So just to give you a bit of an overview about the city of Newcastle, as I mentioned before, it's actually the second largest city in New South Wales behind Sydney, but it's also the second oldest city in Australia. So Sydney is the oldest, and then we're the second oldest city as well. Traditionally, Newcastle used to be very much focused on coal mining and natural resource extraction, but over the last decade, as actually focus has transitioned from moving away from natural resource extraction to sort of becoming a smart city. So what does smart city mean? So smart city means it's looking at harnessing the innovation of ICT, which is information communication technology, to be able to provide leading edge services and facilities to not only for our citizens but also to the government as well and businesses. So what does that mean? So we have free Wi-Fi. We have integrated system where where we're able to figure out which light bulb, which street light light bulb is not working. How many if you can actually download an app which will tell you exactly from the city of Newcastle, which will tell you all the free parking spots that are available as well. But also things like you can do all of your interact with local government online as well. So significant benefits for being able to just connect it online as well. But also when you look at it from our strategic growth areas, as you can see here, there is a lot of high-tech industry here as well. So looking at advanced manufacturing, we've also got creative industries as well, defense. You've got medical and medical technology, pharmaceuticals. You've also got energy resourcing as well, in particular looking at sustainable and natural resources as well. So in particular looking at how can we harness the power of natural resources and renewable resources to be able to power our grid, but also be able to use that for multi-purpose as well. In addition to that, we have significant businesses now who have sort of still involved, and have got a lot of expertise around mining extraction as well. So overall, as you can see, it's a very, very high-tech, industry, which services and where students can actually go into and work as well. Next slide, please. As I mentioned before, the notion of affordable living, what this slide is really showing you is just giving you a comparison of the study of the living costs. And so when there's a website called budgetdirect.com.au, and then that indicates that 60%, in order for accommodation, it is 60% cheaper to live, from accommodation perspective in Newcastle and Sydney, 22% than Melbourne, and 6% cheaper than Brisbane as well. But in addition to that as well, as on the left-hand side on your screen, you've got the 3 different options that normally students have when they come to Australia. So one is living off campus, one is homestay, and one is living on campus as well. Now, these are very conservative figures. Obviously, it really depends on the student's budget. Sometimes, usually what happens is students are quite savvy with their budget, and so the total cost actually is a lot cheaper as well. And so what this is just doing is just giving you a bit of a highlight and an overview of exactly what the main costs are going to be from an internet, phone, and utilities as well. Okay, next slide, please. Career ready. So one of the things, obviously, the main aim of you, obviously, wanting to do a degree, be it undergrad or postgraduate degree, is to gain the necessary set skills to be able to get a career, and for you to be able to sort of get the job of your dreams as well. So the university as a whole, as I mentioned, is with all of those industry connections as well, is we have a very, very high in terms of results. From looking at looking at students getting employment after they graduate. So at the undergrad level, 90% of our undergrads find employment within 4 months of graduating, and then and the average salary that their students do get, and the median salary is 62,500 Australian dollars. So that's quite significant for a starting salary as well. And then at the postgrad level, you almost got a 95% employment rate within 4 months of graduating, and as you can see, that's almost 92,000 Australian dollars. So that's almost looking at almost about 40 lakh starting salary is the average there. And you can see when we look at it, how we compare against some of the other universities like the GO8, we have done Ernst & Young did a benchmarking exercise for us last year and found that our students at graduation rate and the employment starting salary rates, in terms of salary rates, were higher than all of the GO8. So as you can see, the value proposition, from fees to employment and the additional post-study work rights, as I mentioned, this is quite an attractive value proposition as well. So next slide, please. So some of the these are the study areas we have. As I said, we're a comprehensive university. We range anywhere from society and culture to law, engineering, education, business and health, science as well, creative industries as well, and then your typical business programs as well. Next slide, please. So I just want to quickly talk about our campuses. So we have so Newcastle campus. We have 2 campuses in Newcastle. Our main campus is called the Callaghan campus. Now this is actually quite a unique campus where it's actually amongst what we call, it's a bushland campus. So what it means in bushland campus, it's set amongst some really nice spot amongst trees and natural bushland. And so what our campus is known for is the beauty as well, but it's also a very, very large campus as well. So in order to walk from one side of campus to the other side of campus, it can actually take up to 15 minutes to walk across the campus as well. But as I said, beautiful trees, beautiful weather. So it's and there's a lot of beautiful architectural buildings there as well, which obviously assist in terms of making sure that the students really enjoy their experience while on campus as well. So next slide, please. This is New Space. So this is what we call this is a $95 million building, which is primarily which is primarily for our our business and law students. So this is right in the CBD of Newcastle. So it's on the main. And then outside it is it's just outside this building is also a light rail station. So students can actually just, while transporting across Newcastle, they can take the light rail and then be able to, if you're particularly a business student or a law student, you can be able to sort of, get off the station, walk across the road, and you're on campus as well. But what's also unique about this campus, unique about this campus and this building is that this is open for hire from businesses as well. So we have a lot of companies that actually do board meetings in here. They do a lot of corporate functions in here, corporate meetings as well. And that's really good for our students as well, because there's two things. One is industry can see what our students are doing, but also students can also see exactly how industry functions and actually view that, while actually studying as well. Next slide, please. And this is our Central Coast campus. Again, this is about an 1.5 hour drive from north of Sydney. Again, set amongst some very, very beautiful, what we call natural bushland as well. And so, yeah, so primarily on this campus, we actually do a lot of our undergraduate teaching as well. Next slide, please. We also have a Sydney campus as well, and our Sydney campus is actually on the main. It's right in the CBD as well. So and primarily in this campus, we teach our postgraduate business programs and also our postgraduate IT programs as well. Next slide, please. And this is a new development that's also happening as well. There's a long-term vision. So this is what we call the Honeysuckle Precinct. It's going to be a collection of 7 buildings, which is going to have a mixed purpose as well. So this is primarily for our education and creative arts students. So in which they will be able to, conduct their research, conduct their classes in world-class industry standards infrastructure as well. But also this is going to have, commercial areas as well, where it's going to have accommodation, it's going to have businesses, but it's also going to have cinemas as well. So we've just recently signed an agreement with some large creative industries companies, in particular a production house, which will be working with us to be able to do productions and also do film releases actually in this precinct as well. And this is also right across the road from our CBD campus, which I talked about new space. So pretty much we're going to have 8 buildings in the CBD dedicated to just the University of Newcastle. And so we've just commenced the construction of this project, and that should be completed in another 2 years' time. Next slide, please. And we also have, well, that's not really the graphical. That's just a picture of the Hanging Gardens there in Singapore. But we do have, we've had a campus in Singapore for the last 10 years as well. So we do teach a lot of our undergrad and postgrad programs in Singapore as well. Next slide, please. I just want to quickly talk about our faculties as well. So we have the Faculty of Law. It is, it's a top 200 ranked university, top 200 ranked business for business economics and business administration. It's also in the top 200 in the world for ranked for management as well, and top 250 in the top 150 in the world for hospitality and tourism as well. Next slide, please. And what this is just giving you some just a quick overview and highlights of the accreditation industry partnerships as well. So we are a AASCSB accredited school as well, and then we also have accreditations. For example, we have chartered, students can be able to, once they successfully complete their program, students will be able to get accreditations from CPA, from chartered accountants, from the Australian Human Resources Institute, and also from the Marketing Institute as well. But in terms of so this is just some of our accreditations. But we also have a lot of industry partnerships as well, and I'm just highlighting 3. So just like there's Hunter Water, there's Greater Bank, and there's Port of Newcastle. These are some of the biggest employers in Newcastle. So for example, Greater Bank is the largest bank in the Hunter region, and we work quite closely with them as well, where they actually have a dedicated laboratory within our campus as well, where they actually teach students, school-age students, and also university students, all about finance and how to manage finance as well. So that talks about the linkages we have with the industry as well. Port of Newcastle as well, we work with quite closely as well, looking at things like logistics, but also from a management point of view as well. Next slide, please. We also have the Faculty of Engineering and Built Environment. This again, this very, very large university, very, very large faculty for us. It's actually also one of our strongest points as well. So next slide, please. As you can see from the rankings as well, so #1 in Australia for automation and control, but ranked number 13th in the world for automation and control. So significant research there, and so a lot of the automations that you see for the mining companies, but also in the port in Newcastle, have been actually, so a lot of that technology has been developed in consultation with the university as well. So you can see a lot of industry collaborations there as well. We're at number 26 in the world for mining and mineral engineering, top 100 for the world in architecture and built environment, top 150 in the world for civil, and then top 200 in the world for engineering technology as well. But you might also notice at the bottom there is that we're also, because of our rankings and our prestige and our research output, the engineering school, in particular this faculty, is an associate member, engineering associate member for the Group of 8. So that, and the Group of 8 are considered the sandstone universities, or the Ivy Leagues in Australia. And so for us, that we are a member of them, especially for engineering as well. But also, so that's just one aspect. But I think the other aspects I do want to highlight is, of course, is that we're a signatory to the Washington Accord. So what does that mean? It means that your qualification, engineering qualification, is going to be recognized across the world. So if you after you graduate, you want to go and work in Europe or the Middle East or Asia or North America, because university is a signatory to the Washington Accord, your qualification will be recognized as well. And also, and that's both undergrad and postgrad as well. And of course, our and Engineers Australia also recognizes and accredits our qualifications as well. Some of our industry partners we have, and this is again high level, so we have a lot more than this. So we have Lockheed Martin, we work quite closely with Ericsson, we work quite closely with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation as well. But we also work quite closely with the United Nations as well. So we actually have something called, we have a special center of excellence called UNITAR, which stands for United Nations Institute for Training and Research, and we have the only one in the whole of the South Pacific. So in Australia, New Zealand, and Pacific, we're the only ones that actually have this. And this research and training facility is all about looking at disaster management. It's all looking at sustainability as well. So what we do is the UN, our research experts work with governments, and we do a lot of training. We do a lot of consultancy projects with all the governments around South Asia, around Asia, and also in Australia and the Pacific and New Zealand. And the students get the benefit of that as well, when they're doing some of these programs as well, particularly in architecture and disaster resilience and sustainability. Next slide, please. We also have the Faculty of Science as well, which has 21 different undergrad programs and 14 postgraduate programs as well, and it has students from over 50 different countries as well. The next slide is going to talk about the rankings. So next slide, please. As you can see, again, very, very well ranked. So top 3 in Australia for cognitive sciences, top 100 of the world for sociology, exercise, also for exercise sports science as well, top 150 in the world for psychology as well, and then and mathematics as well, and biological science, environmental, all ranked very, very highly in the world as well. Next slide, please. We also have the Faculty of Health and Medicine as well. Again, it's it's a very, very strong faculty. We have very, very strong linkages with industry as well. in which we work quite closely with the New South Wales and the Australian government to have a number of research centres which are also open, and we also have institutes which are open, medical institutes which are open to the public as well. So we do allow students to experiment and have a lot of interaction with actual patients when they're studying as well. So can I just have the next slide, please? And so from a rankings point of view, top 50 in the world for nursing, top 150 in the world for medicine as well. And I think going back to our equity and access routes, we as a university have graduated over 100 Indigenous doctors, and that's actually, and when you look at that collectively, we have the most number of doctors combined. There's a combined, so Indigenous doctors we've graduated in the combined of all the universities in Australia. So that talks about our dedication to making sure that we're looking after the Indigenous community of Australia as well. But also, as you can see, 12. When you look at our excellence research in Australia exercise, the last one happened in 2018. 12 of our areas, were rated, especially in health and medical sciences, were rated above world standards as well. So that talks about, the kind of the rigor of the output that students are getting, and the rigor that our academic staff are also undertaking in terms of research as well. Next slide, please. And then we also have the Faculty of Education and Arts. So we're top 100 in the world for education, and we also have top 150 in the world for sociology as well. Next slide, please. We'll just skip this. We'll just skip the slide. Yeah, perfect. So what we'll do is, obviously, I think so that was just giving a bit of an overview of the university. And what I wanted to do now was to sort of, I think, talk about COVID, especially, the university's response to COVID learning as well. And I think a lot of people, and obviously, we're in a pandemic at the moment, and the world is currently facing some very, very uncertain times as well. So the question really comes down to is how can we as a university help ease some of that burden as well, but how we as a university are responding to students and and the teaching and learning during this this pandemic as well. So this slide is really talking about from our response from COVID, especially from an admissions perspective. So one of the things that we've done is we've been quite flexible in terms of understanding the students' needs here as well. So from an admissions perspective, we've increased the alternatives to meet English. So we understand at the moment, that IELTS testing centres or the English testing centres are closed as well. So what we've done is we've been able to look at different so at the moment, traditionally the university accepted a couple of tests. So we had just the TOEFL, we had the PT, and we also had IELTS, and we had Cambridge. But since then, we've been able to look at different tests as well. So we recognize the TOEFL home test now. We also recognize the IELTS indicator test as well. What we've done also is there's also another Cambridge product called Lingual Skills, which we as a university have got. We've bought a number of vouchers. So if you are interested in coming to the university, we'll be able to actually give you a voucher code for to do that test, which will then allow you to do that. So there'll be no cost for you to do that test as well. So we're recognizing and increasing the number of tests you can use to be, as I said, to meet your English entry requirements. But it's also something called conditional COE. So what does this mean? So we do understand that a lot of there's anxiety about like what we had was obviously there's some more certainty now around year 12, and where students have been now given the results for A levels or for IB or for CBSC or ISE, but there's still uncertainty around someone who's currently who's in their final semester. So what we've done is we are allowing students to commence their studies, based on their previous academic record. So for example, if someone is doing a 3-year bachelor's in India, we will look at their 5-semester results and then give a base of admission on that. And if someone is doing a 4-year degree, we look at their exams. Also, we look at their academic history and the transcripts for the 7 semesters that they've done. and we're basing entry on that. And then once there is some more clarification from education institutions in India, students can then submit their final results, but that won't impact too much on their admissions as well. So because what we normally find is that in the last semester in India it's usually just a practical, so students are doing practical work or they're doing internships, so the GPA that they get normally does not change, if not, it actually improves. So what we're doing is we're allowing the students to commence their studies, and we'll offer them something called conditional COE, and then they have the ability to submit their results, their final results, within 6 months of, so within 6 weeks of commencing, or just before they sit their exams for that semester, for the first semester as well. So we've given that surety to students as well. But also what we've done is we have reduced the confirmation deposit required. So usually to get a COE and to confirm enrollment at the university, usually students have to pay anywhere between $15,000 to $17,000. But we've reduced it to $5,000. And the best part, of course, is, look, this is the confirmation deposit, not additional fees or anything. What happens is that $5,000 that will be used towards the payment of your tuition fees as well. So what we've done is we know that sometimes that obviously finances can be, that there's a stress in finances during this time. So therefore we've also relaxed our confirmation deposit, especially for students who want to commence in 2020 as well. But as Australia has closed its borders as well at the moment, and students cannot physically travel to Australia, students, particularly in India, can commence their studies online. And what we've done around that, of course, is that we're giving an additional 5% reduction on the tuition fee, plus if you have plus any scholarships that you've been awarded by the university as well. So that's the good value proposition as well. But also, online learning is, sometimes it can get a bit, sometimes it's you may not be used to online learning as well, and it may seem like a burden as well. So one of the things that we've done is traditionally, if you as a student are required to have what we call a full-time load, which is either 3 or 4 subjects. But what we've done is we're going to be allowing students, especially just for the online learning part, is to enroll in minimum just one subject if they want to. So what that does is it allows the student to ease into the online learning process, but also to get used to the university's pedagogy, teaching and learning pedagogy as well, because the learning system, the teaching pedagogy in India is very different to what you have in Australia as well, and especially at the University of Newcastle as well. So by just doing one subject online, you're able to then allow yourself to become familiar as well. But I think where the most significant value proposition is, of course, is you enroll online, you do that one subject, but if you unfortunately do not pass that subject, that's okay, because you'll have a safety net. What that safety net is, we will not count that fail towards your academic transcript or your academic record. So that's a good thing. But also, you can actually retake that subject again once the board is commenced onshore without actually paying for it again. So you have no financial penalty. So what that really means is you can actually enroll online at the university and don't have to have a worry about your subject, because you've got the safety net of no financial penalty and no academic penalty as well. So I think that is a significant value proposition for commencing your studies online as well. But the next slide, please. So what are we, in addition to the online learning that what I've talked about from an admissions perspective, what are we doing as a university to support students during COVID-19 as well? So obviously the first thing that we've done is we've made our classes available online as well. And to be honest, we did a survey of the students after semester 1 to see what their online learning experience was, and then so we had 7,000 of our students respond to the survey, which was a mixture of undergraduate students and postgraduate coursework students, and an overwhelming number of students had a very positive experience and a positive feedback about the online learning experience as well. So what that means, so what they were saying is that I think, for us, they were like, well, we should continue online learning as well in addition to face-to-face, because I think with the online learning, what we have is students can now stay at home, be able to consume or watch the lecture live or on demand, so whenever they have time as well. So it's actually giving that flexibility as well. But what we've also done is we've also been able to amend our semester dates and our assessment dates to accommodate this disruption as well. So one of the things that we've done is assessments are also, if you're going to be doing assessments, online. So we're offering international students, especially students offshore, we've been giving them the opportunity to do their assessments online, so they can do an exam online. They can do interactions online. So, but we've also looked at different types of assessments that students can do, which may not necessarily require them to actually sit a physical exam as well. So what we're doing is we're doing progressive assessments, which will then, which can be submitted via online. It might be an essay, it might be a presentation, things like that, which will then accumulate into you getting a final score rather than actually just doing a final exam. So we've adjusted that as well. We've also, the university has also set up a hardship fund as well for our current students. So students are able to, if they're facing any financial hardship, the students can apply for that. You can apply and submit an application, and they will receive some funding to help them, in terms of financially as well. But also, what we've also done is we've also given the flexibility around the payment of fees as well. So rather than actually giving the students have more flexible payment plans as well to be able to pay their fees as well. So that's also assisting to reduce the financial burden as well. Students are also eligible to access support from the New South Wales government as well. So the New South Wales government has also developed a dedicated fund to assist international students as well. So so students can actually receive funding from us and also can receive funding from the New South Wales government to assist them during the COVID-19 situation as well. And as I mentioned before as well, we've also, because online learning is something new for a lot of people, no academic penalty and also no financial penalty was introduced as well to our students as well. Next slide, please. Looking at some frequent asked questions as well around is, what if travel restrictions are in place? When can I start? When can I start studying? Well, I think at the moment, to be honest, if I look at it, the borders will potentially open next year for Australia. So we're looking at, if I read between the lines of what our treasurer, last week, while during his budget update for Australia, he mentioned that he gave a big hint that we're looking at that Australian government is looking to open up the border from the 1st of January 2021. Again, look, that's not confirmed yet, but in the interim, while the borders are still closed, students can commence their studies online and then transfer when the restrictions are lifted as well. So the other question is, if I start my studies online, am I and I'm not in Australia for 2 years, what happens to post-study work rights? Well, look, the Australian government has released some clarifications over the last week, which provide some clarity around how they will consider online learning as part of the eligibility for post-study work rights. For us as a university, one of the reasons, especially for students who are doing postgraduate programs, the way that we've designed it is that we're deliberately saying only take one subject online this semester, and then you'll be potentially on campus next semester. So what that really means is you'll still be required to do minimum 16 months of study while onshore to complete your masters, and that's where you'll also be eligible for your post-study work rights as well. So what that really means is you can commence your studies, apply, accept your offer, get a visa anyway if you want to, and then commence your studies. Then if you do that, you do one subject onshore, or so you do one subject offshore in India. You then transfer over to Australia. You should be eligible for your post-study work rights. Okay, next slide, please. Scholarships. So one of the things that we also, in addition to our fees, which I think are quite competitive, we also do assist students, especially Indian students, with scholarships as well. So the university has an India International Excellence Scholarship, and what this is valued up to $15,000 per annum. So we have three types of scholarships. We have a $5,000 scholarship, we have a $10,000 scholarship, and a $15,000 scholarship per annum. So, and that's for the duration of your studies. So what does that mean? So if you're coming to the University of Newcastle for a postgraduate program, which is 2 years, you can get potentially a $30,000 scholarship in total. If you're coming for a 3-year bachelor's, you can get up to $45,000 in total. If you're coming for a 4-year degree at the university, you can get up to $60,000 in scholarships, from the university as well. And and if you think about it, and these are all merit-based as well. And so for example, our MBA Global program, which is like the MBA for freshers, the cost for that program, full fees, is $30,000 Australian per annum. And if someone has got a very strong academic standing, they get a $15,000 scholarship from the university per annum. You're essentially almost getting a 50% reduction in your fees. But then so you're really paying almost $15,000 Australian. When you compare that, that's only about 7 to 8 lakhs a year in tuition fees. And when you think about that, when you compare that to a private institution in India, so you're pretty much paying the similar fees in tuition fees to what in the University of Newcastle, then you're actually paying here. You're paying in India to a top business school. So that's a significant value proposition. So as I said, and then at the same time, top 200 university, AACSB accreditation program. So you've got a lot of pluses there as well. So these scholarships are available, and there's no additional. You don't have to have a separate application. We will automatically assess your application when we look at your academic grades and your transcripts for that as well. And this scholarship is applicable to both undergraduate and postgraduate programs as well. So next slide, please. So in addition to, if you're not eligible for that scholarship, we also have a number of other scholarships that you may be eligible for. And so this is just a table which gives you that and some of the entry requirements and the values. But if you want a full list of those scholarships, I would recommend you please go to our scholarships page, which is listed there. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you have any further questions, look, please do reach out to shiksha.com, but also my team is also available to be able to answer any of your questions. So you can contact us at southasia@newcastle.edu.au. And so yes, my team will be able to respond to you if you have any questions, regarding admissions or anything about the University of Newcastle. Next slide, please. Okay, look, that really does conclude the formal part of my presentation. Now we're happy to open it up for questions and answers from any of the participants.
Thank you so much, Gurpreet, for the informative session. We have a few questions from students which they have asked, and I'll now speak those questions. I'll share those questions with you. So, so there is a question from Radhasham Parivar. He's asking that I'm from Bhopal and I want to study MBA program, but my age is 42 and I have not given IELTS. So what would be the procedure for the admission to the university?
Okay, wonderful. All right. Okay, so look, what we look at is in order for our MBA program, there are a number of different things to look at. One is your work experience. So I'm assuming you because of your age, you've got significant work experience. That's good. We also look at your academic transcript from your bachelor's degree as well. So and then we also so the university bases experience, academic, and also we need to do assess your English as well. So you will need to provide a formal English test. It could be an IELTS, it could be a PT, it could be a TOEFL as well. and the entry requirement for that is that you need to have a minimum an IELTS overall score of 6.5 with no sub-score below for that as well. In addition to that as well, we do look at the university does need to assess something, you know, it's because you're going to be applying for a student visa for Australia. We do look at we do assess you on your eligibility to actually be granted a student visa as well.
Okay.
But so just to add also, so in terms of our MBA programs as well, we do have a number of MBA programs. Maria, do you want to talk about the MBA programs, especially the dual degree MBAs?
Yes, sure. So we do have dual degrees in MBA. We have MBA with Masters of Marketing or MBA with Masters of International Business, Masters of Professional Accounting with MBA, Masters of Applied Finance with MBA. So we have number of dual degrees that the student can opt for. And as per your interest or your field of experience that you have in the companies, the jobs and roles you have taken, you can opt for any of these dual degrees.
Yeah, and just to add on there as well, is the dual degrees are actually, so you can actually get 2 degrees. So you'll have one MBA, which is a master, and the second one will be your specialist as well. So it might be, as Maria mentioned, it might be finance or marketing or HR. So the first year you'll do MBA, the second year you'll actually do a master. So you get 2 degrees in 2 years, and then you're also eligible for the post-study work rights when you graduate with those 2 degrees.
Great. The next question is from Rohan Reddy. He's asking that I'm very interested in the program of Master of Applied Finance. My educational details are, in my secondary I had 9.8 CGPA, and in my post-secondary I had 89.5%. And in my undergrad I had 87%. My undergrad specialization is Bachelor of Business Administration. Can you please help me if I can apply, and if there are any scholarships that could help me in joining the university?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the other thing that we need to understand also is, so there's a number of programs he's actually eligible for. There's some unknowns here about how much work experience he may have. So depending on it, that he can actually be able to apply for an MBA program, or he might be able to apply for one of our dual MBA programs as well. So there's those 2 options as well. In terms of scholarships, looking, as I mentioned, across the India scholarship as well. So you're eligible for anywhere between, as I mentioned, between $5,000 to $15,000 per annum. Well, so but looking at your GPA, again, we'll need to consider that because when we look at GPAs, when we calculate GPAs, we take into consideration the number of backlogs you've had, but also what section the university is from as well, and that will then determine what scholarship that you may be eligible for. But I think you will be definitely eligible for anywhere between $5,000 to $15,000 per annum.
Okay. Fine. So the next question is from Souvik Siddha. He's asking, my age is 27 and I'm studying Chartered Accountancy. I have done Bachelor's of Economics and Finance and Bachelor's of Business Analyst. I got 75% in my 10+2 exam in 2010, and I have working experience in audit firm for 5 years. I want to study with part-time job for cost of living in Australia.
Okay. Yeah, so in terms of your visa requirements, obviously each student, when you do apply for a visa, under subclass 500 of visa, it does give you certain work rights as well. So you'll have to be enrolled in your program time, but you're able to work part-time. So so under the Australian government subclass 500 visa guidelines, you're able to, while actually in semester, you're eligible to part-time work for 40 hours over a fortnight. And so previously it used to be 20 hours per week, but now they've made it 40 hours over a fortnight. What they've done is, it's giving us the flexibility to be able to sort of, work with their schedule as well, because one week you may actually have more assignments, so therefore, you have to put more on your studies, so therefore you can't work as much, but the next week you've done your assignment and you've got more flexibility to do more part-time work. So it's giving you that freedom to do 40 hours over a fortnight. But while outside semester time, you're able to work full time. So what that really means is during the inter-semester breaks or during the summer or winter breaks, you will be able to work full time, on your visa.
Okay. Next question is from Aman. Aman is asking, I'm an engineering graduate and have around 4 months of work experience. What are my chances of MBA admission in the university?
Okay, so look, you'll probably be eligible for our MBA Global program. So Maria, do you want to talk about the MBA Global program a bit further?
Yes, yes. So we have an MBA Global program which is designed for the students who are basically from different background and wants to commence business as their, administration as their future course. So you can opt for an MBA Global program. This MBA Global program is called Global because it has an embedded, travel in it, where you can opt for the options in Rome or in US, and you can have a 2 weeks of inter university experience. You can go over there for 2 weeks in studies, and the cost is the part of the tuition fee, so you don't have to pay anything extra. Plus, in MBA Global, we have a mandatory internship by the end of the semester, which makes you job ready and helps you in connecting with the our industry partners. So it's very easy. The cost of MBA Global would be somewhere around 29,000 Australian dollar, and you can put an application for that. IELTS is something that you need to clear with 6.5 overall and 6 in each.
Okay. Student, you can also click on raise hand tab, and I will unmute you, and you can ask your question directly to the panelist. You can do that. Meanwhile, we'll take few more questions.
Lakshmi, we also have a question here, which I think is from Vanaja, around do we consider distance education?
Yeah.
So look, that really depends, to be honest, in terms of the qualification. It is, so that we consider distance education on a case-by-case basis as well. So in order to answer that question, we would probably need a bit more details about the type of distance education you've done and the qualification and institution that you've done it from as well. Okay, we have another question here. So I've completed, this is from Neha. I've completed postgrad in biotechnology and working in vaccine production for the last 10 years. I'm interested in doing PhD. Can I get to know the guidelines for admission? Yeah, sure. Very good question. In order to apply, so a PhD at our university is really, you have to be, it's a full-time research program as well. The best way to do this as well, is I would please go onto our website and go into the research section as well. So the first thing what you've really got to do is find a supervisor. I think that's very, very important as well. I think finding, and the way to find a supervisor also is that I think what I would recommend to you is develop maybe a small research proposal which outlines the research that you're intending to do, and have a CV as well, develop a CV as well. And then also talk about, so like for example, when I did my PhD, I'll give you my example. So how I did it is that I developed a business, I developed a proposal which was no more than 2.5 pages long, in which I identified the area that I wanted to do it in, a small literature review, and the research gap that I was interested in wanting to fill, that I identified, for the PhD. And what I was able to do then is I was able to go onto my university's website where I did my PhD, and then is submit that to then identify the subject area, especially as a research part of my research interest, that all the universities list. So Newcastle also does the same thing. Each of our academics do list their research interest, and then you can actually email them directly and then start having that conversation with them. And if they're willing to say yes, look, I think your project sounds interesting, I'm happy to supervise that. That's when the formal process around the application commences as well. So, but first of all, I think what you will need to do is you do need to first of all develop a research proposal, and also make sure you have your CV there as well, which outlines your academic achievements and any publications or research that you've done in the past as well. So that's your first step towards applying for a PhD. hope that. And but also in terms of your qualifications as well, we do need to look at how much research you've done, in your master's degree. But as you can see, as I can see, you've been working on vaccine production for the last 10 years. So I think that might also be that you could also use that as a basis for entering the PhD. But as I mentioned, PhD is always going to be based on your research topic, and if that research topic aligns with one of our academic supervisors' research as well. Okay, hope that helps. Okay, so the next question is from Shail. What is the scope of students who plan their masters in engineering? Maria, do you want to answer that one?
Well, Gurpreet, it's about scope of engineering. I think you should take,
Okay, so
consider
scope of
answering this question.
So looking at what is the scope for students who plan their master? So look, I think you probably need to expand that a bit more, Shal, as to what you're asking. Scope is, are you talking about career outcomes? Are you talking about entry requirements? But when you look at career outcomes, our students who do a master of engineering with us have been very, very successful. So as I mentioned, over 95% or more have been able to get jobs, within 4 months of graduating. In some of our engineering disciplines, it's 100% employment rate within 4 months, and the salary is a lot higher than the 93,000. They're actually getting almost $100,000 as well. So there is definitely a lot of scope, but see, at the end of the day, it's also about what aligns with you in terms of how. What's your interest as well, because that will then also determine the kind of because the kind of the study area you want to go into as well. So, but overall, look, the scope is very high for engineers, and who plan to do their master of engineering. They can go into industry, they can go into research, they can go into consultancy, they can do a lot of things as well. And and so, but as I said, and our qualifications are recognised globally. So you're not confined just to Australia. Okay, next question. Okay, Maria, do you want to answer this one? This is about percentages. How much percentage minimum do I need to secure for a scholarship in the MBA Global?
Okay, so just a second. Now for MBA Global, there is minimum scholarship is $5,000, and if you are eligible, to have an offer letter, there is a business scholarship also for $10,000. Now that is something, if you are meeting the entry requirement and you are getting the offer letter, you will get the business scholarship of $10,000. If you perform well, you may get to extra 2,500 addition to that. But we also have the International Indian Excellence Scholarship. In that case, you have to maintain a GPA of at least 4.5 in order to get a scholarship, for $10,000, and 5.5 GPA for the $10,000 and 4.5 for the $5,000. And if you have yes,
so Maria, can you are you able to sort of translate that, because that 4.5 is on a 7-point scale? So can you just translate that into potential percentage-wise?
So percentage-wise, it depends upon their grading scale also, Gurpreet, and their backlog also. But yes, if you're having a percentage of, you can say, 50 to 55% from Section 1, Section 2 university, you can get a scholarship minimum of $5,000. If you have around 60% and above, you can get the scholarship up to $10,000 per annum, and 65 and above, you can get the scholarship of $15,000. But also, it also depends upon the grading scale, upon the section of your university, as well as the number of your backlog. So we calculate each of them, and if it goes down, if the percentage goes down, then it might affect the scholarship. But if the percentage goes higher, then you get the higher value of the scholarship.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so we have a question from Mohammed here, Mohammed Sahel Khan, around how do I get admissions in university if I want to get into software engineering and I'm 17 years old now? Look, so what we do is, we recognize a number of different qualifications. So we have entry requirements that for students who do Cambridge A levels. We have students who do Also we accept IB. We also accept CBSC, ISC. But we also do accept state boards as well. So how we look at it is we look at your grades from from whatever your year 12 qualification is, and then we will convert that into what we call an entry rank. That entry rank will then determine your academic eligibility. In addition to your academic, you'll still need to also provide us with an English test as well. And in order to get into the software engineering bachelor's program, you need to provide us an IELTS equivalent of 6 overall with no subscore below 6 as well. Okay, hope that helps. In terms of for medicine programs, it's recognized in other countries. Yes, it is. And our medicine program is a joint program, so it's joint be it bachelor's and master's together over a 5-year period. If you want to do a dual degree, and if I get 15,000 scholarships, will I? Yes, you will. So the question is from Manav Aurora: if I want to do a dual degree program, and if I get $50,000 per annum scholarship, will I get that scholarship for the whole 4 years? Yes. The Indian Excellence Scholarship is for the duration of your studies at the university. As I mentioned, if your qualification is 3 years, if your qualification is 4 years, if your qualification is 2 years, you'll get that scholarship allocated per year until you complete that qualification you're enrolled in. Okay, I presume University of Newcastle is the regional designated area. How the City of Newcastle responds to Master of Computer Science graduates from the Newcastle and its IT-based company in the region? The answer is yes. So one of the things that you must know, Prajit, is that we have a very, very strong computer science, especially we have a very strong research institute, in particular around cybersecurity and computer security as well, and also about computer science. So that's led by a world-renowned academic called Professor Vijay Vadrajan, and so we do a lot of work with a lot of companies, not just in the Hunter region, but also in the wider New South Wales region as well. So we do a lot of work with New South Wales government. We do a lot of work with the Hunter region, but we also do a lot of work with a lot of the big companies around the region as well. So there's definitely a lot of scope to work, and at the end of the day, we need to, when we're considered a regional area, but I'll not just give you a bit of a how we're positioned. Consider us to be the Gurgaon to Delhi and the Pune of to Mumbai. So that's the relationship between Sydney and also and Newcastle. But we also have a lot of institutions. So we have a lot of businesses who are now shifting a lot of their back-end offices to Newcastle from Sydney, because what they were doing is they were finding it very, very expensive to operate in Sydney. So a lot of them are moving to Newcastle. So for example, Westpac Bank, the Australian Tax Office, the national, NIB, which is one of the largest, insurers, private insurers in Australia, the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. I'm just naming some of these companies are actually moved their back-end offices to Newcastle as well. In addition to that, we have Ernst & Young, Deloitte, we have we have PricewaterhouseCoopers. All of these are have offices based in Newcastle. So as you can see, it is the unemployment rate in Newcastle is actually a lot lower than Sydney as well. And so there's actually more jobs in Newcastle than actually in Sydney at the moment. Okay, I have a distance degree. Okay, here we go. So okay. So this is the follow-up question we had about distance degree. So I have a distance degree from India from B.R. Ambedkar, and I'm 34. I'm interested in masters in cyber technology and have a degree in psychology. Okay, Maria, do you want to answer this question around the entry into cybersecurity?
can you repeat the question because I'm not able to view the question? Can you just repeat
So,
the question once again?
so in this instance, we have a Naja who has oh, hang on, where did it go? Sorry, just went from my screen. Sorry, it won't be a second. It's completely vanished from my screen. Here we go, got it. I have a distance education degree from India, from BR Ambedkar, and I'm 34 years old. I'm interested in Master of Cyber Security and have a degree in psychology.
Well, cybersecurity is specifically for the students who are from IT, software, and electrical background. So if you are from psychology background, then there might be some issue that there are some technical modules that you are, the foundation technical module you're not aware about, and that's why it may impact your admissions. It's specifically designed for the students who have already studied their bachelor's into IT, software, and electrical field.
Yeah. Absolutely, thank you. Okay, so we have a question around the maximum number of backlogs accepted. So that is 15. So when we talk about backlogs, we also talk about resets as well. So even if you have, even if you just had, 10 backlogs, but you had 15 resets, we consider that as 15 backlogs. So the answer is 15 backlogs maximum, including resets and fails as a whole. Okay, what does professional courses mean? And what is the professional course available in the ICT domain? So we have a number of different professional courses, really something to do with what we call a postgraduate coursework program. So it could be a Master of IT, Master of Cybersecurity. We do have a Master of Engineering, Professional Engineering, which also has a computer science background in there as well. So those are the IT and the electrical related programs we have on offer. If I get the scholarship and I decide to defer my admissions to next semester, will my scholarship also be accompanied with the admissions next semester? Look, that's on a case-by-case basis, but unless we explicitly mention that the scholarship is not transferable, you should be able to transfer your admission with that scholarship. But sometimes our scholarships are valid only for a particular year, and if that's the case, the answer is no. But if we do offering it beyond a number of years, and there's nothing in the terms and conditions that says you cannot defer your studies, yes, you should be able to have that scholarship available when you do defer your studies. Okay. What about the students who are in 12th and after that? What are courses I have to prepare to take admissions at the University of Newcastle? Look, Ankit, there are different. This really depends, to be honest, on what your results are for year 12. So if you are coming into, if you're applying directly into the university and you meet all the academic cutoff, then there are no additional courses you have to take. If for whatever reason you don't meet the academic rank or the academic cutoff for that academic program, we do offer a foundation program. We do offer a diploma program which you can come into. But a lot of our courses don't have any prerequisites except for engineering. Where engineering, if you want to apply for a Bachelor of Engineering program at the university, it is a prerequisite that you must have strong foundations in mathematics. But apart from that, all other programs like science or business don't really have any prescribed program or subjects that you need to do. Okay, so you've clarified it now further. Okay, wonderful. I want to join business administration program, and I'm in my 12th, 18 years old. What courses do I have to do? To be honest, you don't have to do any. If you're doing a 12th, that's okay. You can just do your commerce stream. We don't have this particular thing where, if you're from a commerce stream, you can only go into commerce. If you're doing a science stream, you go into science programs. No. What we'll do is we'll look at, depending on if you're doing CBSE or ISC or A-level, Cambridge A-levels, IB or state boards, we look at we will look at your best 4 subjects, and then we'll then take an average of those grades, and then that will then judge your eligibility for that bachelor's program, Aniket. Okay. How much would an IT MS cost without scholarship? I'm 31 years old and completed my bachelor's in. Okay. Maria, can you just talk about the how much is it for a Master of IT program, please?
The cost, the tuition fee?
The the cost for the Master of IT for full fee.
So the cost of Masters of Information Technology currently is somewhere around 33,000 Australian dollar. It's changed every year also. Just give me a second, I'll give you the exact amount.
Students, meanwhile, you can click on raise hand tab and your answers will be, your questions will be answered directly by the panelist. You can ask your question directly with the panelist. You please click on raise hand tab.
Okay, I'm just gonna while Maria's searching for that, I'm just gonna quickly go on to Jessna's question around the programs for medicine. Jessna, our medicine program is actually designed as a combined program. So we actually have, so if you're going to go into particular medicine, like want to become like a practicing doctor, you have to do a combined program, which is 5 years, which starts from a bachelor's degree. So you can't just come in after you do a bachelor's and then do a master's. It's actually a combined degree that we offer at the university. In addition to that, we do offer a number of different programs. In particular, if you want to do like research, we do offer MPhil, which will allow you to do more research-based programs in medicine as well. So I hope that answers your question. Maria, are you able to answer that question around Master of IT?
Yes. So the exact fee for 2020 is 38,370 Australian dollar. And in 2021, it might increase. So this is as per 2020.
Okay. The other part of the question was, I'm 31 years old and completed my bachelor in 2012. Is my profile suitable to apply? Look, the answer is yes, but there's a lot of other things we've got to consider when we apply to apply to Australia. So in addition to, so when you apply for a visa for Australia, or we have to look at your academic, your work experience, your English, but also your suitability for the student visa program as well. So that's one of the things that we need to look at. So Anna, we're happy to please send us an email, and one of my team members, so send an email to southAsia@newcastle.edu.au, and one of my team members will be happy to have the conversation with you around looking at your profile and and your suitability as well, for that program, so we can understand what have you been doing since 2012 as well. Okay, we have a question from we have another question here which says, approximately when should we start applying? Maria, do you want to answer that one? Do you want to answer that question? That's an interesting question.
You can start applying now. Depend upon when you want to go. If you are keen to start your course in August 2020, you can still put an application and we can see if we can prioritize your case. But yes, for T3, trimester 3 and semester 1, our applications are open, so you can start putting your applications now.
Yeah, just to add on to that as well, is if you are currently doing your bachelor's at the moment, and you're probably potentially completing your qualifications next year, or or in your final semester now, or whatever it is, you can still apply to university with incomplete qualifications. So as I mentioned, we have a lot of students who apply for to us with 5 semesters or 7 semesters of qualifications. We also do have students who apply, especially at the undergrad level, have applied in December last year or in January this year as well. What we do is we will look at your, if you're applying for based on year 12 qualifications, we look at your predictive results. But if you're applying for a postgraduate program, we look at your transcripts and your GPA up till now, and that will then give us an idea as well. So we can always be able to give you what we call a conditional admit, and the condition is always then is that you must meet a minimum GPA or a minimum entry rank for as well. So as I said, you can apply up to a year in advance, but a lot of students do just apply 6 months in advance. Okay. Perfect. Does anyone else have any other questions? No, it doesn't look like it. So I think what we might do is we might wrap up the webinar here. So look, I want to thank all of you for participating. Thank you for your time. Again, if you have any questions or clarifications that you require about the university, please do reach out to my team at the email address provided, southasia@newcastle.edu.au. We'll be happy to answer those questions for you.
Gurpreet, we have one student who wants to ask you a question directly.
Sure.
Okay. So Aman, I am unmuting you. Aman, you can ask your question to the panelists directly.
Very good afternoon, sir. Myself, Aman.
Yeah.
So, as you just told me about the MBA Global MBA program.
Yes.
So actually, what my question is, the MBA is actually for a candidate with significant amount of work experience, right? So, as I have around 4 months of work experience, so what will be the job prospect after completion of MBA?
Okay. So look, the MBA program that we have two types of MBA programs at the university. So one is an MBA program which is someone has significant work experience, and then there's another program which we call it MBA Global, which is someone like yourself who's coming from a different industry or has very little MBA or has very little work experience. Okay, so so you'll be eligible for the MBA Global program. Now, how that MBA program does in terms of it has a compulsory work integrated learning component where you do a consultancy project or you do an internship. Okay, that will then help you to be able to develop the necessary practical skills to be able to present to a potential employer that you might be suitable for their position. So I think for yourself, what will be really interesting is you'll have an engineering background, and now you'll also have a business background as well. So what you're able to demonstrate to a potential employer is that you're able to work across a range of different areas, from both admin tasks but also technical tasks as well. Some of the things you might be able to go into is maybe is engineering planning, or you might be able to go into things like project management. So those kind of jobs are definitely there to be able to look at as well. So as I mentioned as well as we have a 95% employment rate when it comes to students getting jobs, from the university or within 4 months of graduating from the university. We also have a careers team that will help you to be able to develop your CV, develop your soft skills further. So when you're going for interviews, when you're presenting yourself to employers, you're able to actually sell yourself better as well. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. It was a great help. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Aman. Okay, next we have Rajiv. Rajiv, I'm unmuting you. You can ask your question.
Hi, Mr. Gurpreet. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. So my son, he's studying in EdXL program, which is IGCSE, and he will be completing his IGCSE A level by next year, 2021, July-August time frame, and he wanted to pursue for a medicine. So
yes.
And for MBBS, and I suppose there are certain requirement or qualification criteria. One is the educational qualification, which requires certain A levels, and apart from that, I suppose he has to undergo if he has to go for direct medicine, then he has to undergo for UCAT as well as IELTS. Is it my understanding correct? Hello?
Sorry, I had sorry, can you hear me? Sorry, I had a bit of an internet issue.
Okay.
So yes, so so look, I think for medicine there are a number of different different entry requirements as well. So as you mentioned, yes, we look at a number of different things. We look at the academic entry requirements. We also look at the student's profile as well. So they have to do an admissions interview, an in-person interview as well. We also do take into consideration the UCAT, as you mentioned as well. So so what we do is we do take into consideration a whole lot of different things when it comes to medicine. So yeah, so one of the things that we do look at is, academic is going to be a big one, and the UCAT is going to be a big one. But that doesn't necessarily mean if you have a very good academic profile and you have a very good UCAT score, that will guarantee you entrance to medicine as well. I think the big component also is how you perform in the admission interview as well. And and I think that also plays almost like a 50% role in actually the entry in terms of getting selected into the medicine program at Newcastle.
Okay, so so you mean apart from education as well as UCAT and other IELTS score, there is a personal interview also required?
Yes, that's right.
Which will be in a specific location in Australia itself or outside as well?
Well, at the moment, so it can either be in Singapore or actually in Newcastle.
Okay.
And that will,
for yeah, go ahead,
sorry,
please.
And that will be then, depending on the number of candidates we have, we sometimes do offer it in Singapore, or if not, we do then, we only offer it in Newcastle.
Okay. And do we also, let's say if he's been selected for after the interview and other qualification criteria, does the scholarship is still valid for them? Because you mentioned that is valid for all the students, whether it is any course.
No, so for medicine, it's considered a quota program. So the scholarship is not, so the students will not be eligible for scholarships for any of our quota-based programs. So that includes medicine. So he would be, your son would be paying the full tuition fee.
So it is to be paid by for self-finance, basically.
Yes.
Okay, understood. No problem. Thanks a lot. And also, last question, if you don't mind. I suppose,
sure.
What is the fee structure per annum?
For the Doctor of Medicine?
Yes.
Okay, Maria, can you just find that out for me, please? So we'll just find that out for you right now.
Yeah, it's 76,328 for 2021 per annum.
Okay.
That's
That is Australian dollars.
Yes, so roughly $75.
Okay, so around 55,000 US dollars.
Yes.
Okay, understood. And is there any possibility of getting the financing student loans can be possible? Like, do you have some tie-up with some agencies who do student loans for that?
Yeah, look, we work with a company called We Make Scholars here in India. So they are funded. They're a startup funded by the Indian government, where they can help some, like yourself, where you're looking to finance your child's studies, and so they are able to work with both national and private banks to be able to get the best interest rate for you as well.
Okay. So I suppose that we need to start it maybe next year, early first quarter of the next year. Is my understanding correct, right?
Because because I'm going to complete his year 12 in 2021, right?
Yeah, absolutely correct.
Yes, so yeah, so you'll be looking at 2022 entry. So yes, yeah, you probably need to look at commencing your that kind of application by mid-year next year.
Okay, okay. Appreciated that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rajiv. We don't have any more questions coming in now. So thank you so much, Gurpreet. Thank you so much, Maria, for taking out time today and helping students with their queries. Students, you can get in touch with the university with the email address that is now coming on your screen, or you can get in touch with Shiksha and they will help you in applying to the University of Newcastle. Thank you so much, Gurpreet. Thank you so much, Maria, once again for taking out time today.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye. Take care. Have a nice day, everyone.